down. So when something like this happened, no one has to get up and embarrass themselves by showing some patriotism and putting the flag back up. Just thought I'd mention it. I do want to say one quick word about our last guest speaker. If she's the pattern for good politicians and we follow that pattern, we're going to do just fine.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, believe it or not, there's other ladies out there, other people out there, who are cut from the same cloth. And I've had the pleasure to know this lady for a couple of years now, and she is just as much a fighter as Tammy is. And I'll tell you, and this is a different Shirley, but neither of the Shirleys in this room ever back down. She's not here. I knew that. You were going to hear from Shirley Dolan. And she is amazing. I'm telling you that I'm just going to plug her a little bit because she's from my end of the world, and I'll tell you what, when she digs into a cause, she doesn't let go until it's dead and bleeding on the floor. And the people in Renfrew County know it. All right, so in that case, that brings us to, there's this guy out there, I don't know. Should we listen to him or not? He's the head of the Ontario Landowners Association and a very good friend of mine. His name is Tom Black, and I'll tell you what, you want to talk about another person cut from the Dolan and the Hart and the Mosley cloth? This is the male version. He's a little quieter, he's not quite as flashy as some of the others, but I don't know of a man with more courage or a bigger heart than Tom Black.
Hear, hear.
He wants to give me another lamb.
How'd it go, Luther?
My wife's cheering him on, and I don't know yet. Here you go. Hold him by the bottom.
Squeeze her tight, Tom. Squeeze her tight.
Told you to hold it by the bottom. No, you got to wrap it up like I had it.
There we go.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. Boy, this is a tough act to follow. All these women are kicking the shit out of my speech.
Make him up, I do.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm trying to give Nick a new lamb because I had quads this morning, and there's only two handles in the mother, so we need to get rid of a couple of them. And he wouldn't take them, but Allison said she'd love them, so I think I'm going to win this one.
I'm never bringing my wife to these affairs again.
Well, thank you very much. I think most of you folks know the landowners here, probably from reputation, if nothing else. But we lost a pretty good friend of the landowners this month past year, Bob Mackey, down in Niagara.
Yeah.
And he's been in this battle. It's been a lifetime battle for the last 10 years, as he called it. But he lost the battle of life. But he didn't lose the war against the Niagara Escarpment. He still had an archery business there, even though they told him he couldn't have one. And he refused to take her down, and they have no teeth. They couldn't make them.
Good.
So it's the last girl up here talking. I just wanted to mention. She said that, and I know her name is Tammy Hart. I just couldn't see her. She's so short. But
There's a stool back there we could have.
But she said that people are always surprised. You're always surprised when you meet people like me in a crowd. That's what people call us and tell us on the phone. They said we didn't know there was other people like us out there. And we're so happy to meet you and talk to you because that's what the landowners have become. A whole bunch of people that sort of think along that. Conservative side, not necessarily conservative party. I don't know if there is any in this country, but it's that conservative mentality of get the dollar before you spend it. So that is part of what we are, and sort of bringing together people that are not always just out to help themselves, out to help the community build a better place for their kids and their grandkids, not one that's in debt and has to be paid off after we're gone. And that's sort of the main feeling of the group for the most part. Not everyone's like that, just to let you know, but I'd just like to relate to you a little story. And if everybody's seen the sign on the wall up there, it's from the M&R website. And we printed that off last week and took it to the farm show, just so people get an idea of what's going on. And many of you here have been told by politicians and lawyers and even some former landowners that the patent grants are not worth anything. And if you go on the MNR's website, and they are the Crown representative on the patent grant, on their website it will read off under sales and issuance of letters patent, the Ministry of Natural Resources does not retain future options for the land and does not control use. Now, I don't know how you interpret that any different than what it says. It says that your piece of ground that is patented off to you at the beginning is a little kingdom on of its own, that nobody has any say over it except you and your neighbor, being that you can't harm your neighbor. And that means you can't build a building that's going to shade out his house. If you're there ahead of him, that's fine, there's nobody there, you can do whatever you want. But if the neighbor's there beside you, you cannot build something up that's going to obstruct his air, sun, or anything else, or ruin his water. So those things are still in play, even though law firms, politicians, especially government, would really like you not to know about it. And this ties us right back to the Magna Carta, common law. I heard people talking about it here today, using tort action. That is exactly what common law is, tort action. You go back to the tort action business, and neighbors can use torts against anybody, by the way. Politicians aren't protected under their incorporation from torts. That cuts right through that one. So I'm scattered here pretty bad because I've got all this competition here today. I wanted to tell you about a little case to sort of emphasize those patents. And Niagara is sort of a hotbed of this stuff right now. And it also has gas wells. I don't know if anybody knows that, but they have their own private gas wells down there on their farms. Some of them just drilled holes down and stuck a pipe in it, and away they go, 50, 80 years ago. And they got a well head on there, a gas head on there, and they were heating their chicken barns and their houses and everything else with them. Anyways, this young lad, he's one of the leaders in the Niagara group down there. He looked out the other day, and he seen the M&R truck out in this field. And so he went flying down with his camera and asked them what they're up to. And they said, well, we're taking this wellhead off here and filling it full of cement. Oh. Yeah. Well, he says, you can't do that. He said, oh yeah, we can do that. We're the M&R. Well, he says, where's your warrant to come on my private property? He says, we're the M&R. We don't need a warrant. And of course, he's recording it all. We have it all recorded. And he said, no. He said, that's a private property. You cannot touch that. And it's putting heat to that house right there. It's my brother's house, he says. And this is the middle of winter. You can't turn off gas in the middle of winter. It doesn't matter who you are. No, we're turning it off, and they did. They proceeded to do it. So he called the police. The police didn't get there till after they were gone. But he, I know it's no surprise, but the country's the last place they come to. Just Tim Hortons is the other place. But anyways. Anyways, and I shouldn't say that because all policemen are like all politicians. They're not all bad, so we shouldn't be all painted with the same brush. But anyways, he laid all the stuff out for the police and asked them to lay charges. And if they don't, he will. But he also called the M&R head office, and they called him back the next day, and he recorded that. And we have that recording. And it was quite a stumbling match for the fellow that got handed this this job of trying to interface where his officer had got in trouble. And but he insisted they had the right to do it. And he insisted they had the right to take the wellhead off and close the pipe up. But so they didn't get very far in the argument, except to we'll have to go back and talk about it. That was sort of the ending. But the next day he looked out and his wellhead was back. Now, it wasn't hooked up, but it was back. So this is not done yet, and it'll go to court probably before it's over. But this is like many, many other organizations. The M&R are being the one that should know the law, since that is on their website. And he asked them about that very document on their website, and they didn't know anything about it. As a matter of fact, they didn't know what a patent was, the fellow he was talking to. those things are going downhill fast. But I think we've turned the corner. We're starting to get people aware of this stuff. And in Niagara, which I mentioned is a pretty hotbed of this stuff, we had the Niagara conservation authorities. Very tough skinned bunch of people that really did apply excessively what they thought was the real law. And we've won a few cases down there against them with Terrence Green, and some of them for cleaning out ditches, that they came in and charged the guy everything. His dad died over the stress of it. It was over a 3-year period of going through hell, but he called me and he said, I will sell everything and mortgage everything, he said, but I will not quit. And he won, and he won big time. This is something like fighting a war, and people are getting killed in this job, and because not enough are standing up against them to turn the tables on it. So they go on to the next one because they don't know the difference. Like, people aren't informed well enough. And that came back to us from a lady in the Conservation Authority herself, a young lady that had figured out the reality of these laws. And she came up to him and said, and it was over the rights to water. And the Conservation Authority are really looking for those water rights. And she said, we will not go near anybody that has got their land patent grant to try and take their water rights. She said to this young fellow, she said, your mistake is, your problem is, only 1% of the people know about it. You guys aren't doing enough to get educated. So, and I think she's being generous when she said 1%. I don't think there's not that many. But in that another case down there, a young fellow had bought a piece of property, and it was Conservation Authority as well again, and he had a couple little motorcycles. His kids are pretty small, and he had a little trail out in the back, and they came in and charged him for driving on the wetland, which was his property. It wasn't wet, but they considered it theirs, and he went a couple of years in court. They did win that, but the expense, the process is the penalty,